Thank you for tuning in to the BIRNN Community Chronicles, the Blue Island and Robbins Neighborhood Network. This is a show about you. We bring together community members, leaders, and organizations to drive the change you want to see in Blue Island and Robbins. Now, here's your host, Program Manager for the BIRNN, Ken Benson.
Good evening. Welcome to the BIRNN Chronicles, the radio show from the Blue Island-Robbins Neighborhood Network. Tonight, we are privileged and blessed to have the staff from the Blue Island-Robbins Neighborhood Network joining us. We just wanted to make sure that our listening audience understood a little bit more about the BIRNN and what we do, who we serve, how we came about, who our partners are, and ways that you can volunteer or you can donate or you can interact or you can become a partner of the BIRNN. And so my name's Ken Benson. I am your host of the BIRNN Chronicles. I also serve as the program manager for the Blue Island-Robbins Neighborhood Network. I have Sarah here and we have Carlita here, and they will both introduce themselves as well. I definitely don't want to introduce Sarah because I don't want to mess up her last name, so I'm going to give her an opportunity to do that. But they are staff here for the Blue Island-Robbins Neighborhood Network. But what I wanted to do to start off before we start our conversation is just talk about the neighborhood network and how we came about. So we started in 2015 in relationship with the United Way Metropolitan Family Services and School District 143 and a half, actually, and came to the table to create a system using collective impact to bring partners to the table who would not normally sit at the table. And so I was fortunate enough to come in and work with the building of the BIRNN, our steering committee, the partners that are coming to the table. And so we started off by just doing community cafes and community, just trying to figure out what the collective problems were in both Blue Island and Robbins. And so although geographically they're close together, as you'll find out with this conversation with the staff, that they are worlds apart sometime in the need. And so we brought folks from both communities together just to talk about those common needs, those common threads, those barriers that both communities faced. And so we, from that, came up with three subcommittees. One was social emotional wellness. The other was HEAL, which is healthy eating, active living. And then the final one was financial health and education. So these were areas in both Blue Island and Robbins where our partners could give some resources, but also our community said there are places where we have needs. And so we created those subcommittees and we began to work in those subcommittees. So we are primarily funded by the United Way and Cook County Transforming Places. They give us funding as well. We have a partnership of about, I want to say, 40 partners who are a part of our network. Sarah's great at bringing on new partners. So the next time we come, I'm sure we'll have many, many more partners at the table. But we are so happy to be able to just talk a little bit about the work that we do. So I'm not going to go any further into the history other than what I've done now, but I just want to start a conversation with our staff. And so the first thing I want to do is give them an opportunity to introduce themselves, talk about your position here, talk about your background. What brought you to the neighborhood network? What interests you about coming to work with this organization? And then we'll get into a bit of a conversation. Is that okay?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So Sarah, I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself, talk about your background and what brought you here. And then Carlita, we'll go to you.
Definitely.
Wonderful.
So as Ken mentioned, my name is Sarah Oseguera. I am the program coordinator for the Blue Island-Robbins Neighborhood Network. A little bit about me. I'm actually a lifelong resident of Blue Island. My parents immigrated here in about early 70s, late 70s. And we've never actually left.
All right.
A little bit more background on me. I am very much a community advocate. My mom really focused on showing us the importance of servingness. Ever since I was little, she would take me to any rallies that would be hosted by St. Donatus, which is one of the local churches here in Blue Island. I vividly remember going on a bus filled with a bunch of people to go downtown and advocate for those that essentially will find themselves voiceless. So I did that since I was 5, up until my college days too. So I've always really been focused on engaging our community and really helping the community advocate for themselves in a way where it's beneficial for generations to come. And I think that's really important when we talk about just the work that we do with the BIRNN. It's not necessarily that we're doing work for right now and for the community that's currently here. We're doing the work for the generations that are to come and ensuring that everybody has the equal access to the services, the opportunities that they deserve. Because at the end of the day, we're all humans.
Absolutely,
We all
absolutely.
deserve the same things.
Absolutely. And I will say, and I think people to know the work of the BIRNN, we actually have a very small staff, so we don't do direct services, but we are blessed to work with partners who are engaged in community in various ways. And so we are able to connect community
Yep.
to resources that are out there and people that can help them. And so Sarah is an integral part in making sure that those connections are made as coordinators. So, and I think it's wonderful, Sarah. And I just want to touch upon this a little bit before we go to Carlita. Isn't it to me, I just think, and I've had this opportunity in my life to go back into the community in which I grew up and to serve. And so just talk a little bit about how that is just, for you and
It's
just
really
for other people.
impactful because more if I think about just how our community has grown within the last 20 years, seeing how individuals that more than likely worked really hard to be where they're at, but didn't have the tools necessary to continue to advance, and having organizations come in and kind of really helping them and empower them. And now being one of those people that are doing that, it was something that I had always seen as a little kid. I always had to translate for my parents. Language barrier is really, really real in our community. So I always found myself having to understand things that maybe a 12-year-old didn't really need to understand.
Right.
But we also had these partners, like, for example, like I mentioned, my parents immigrated here in the 70s. They were one of the few folks that were fortunate enough of having assistance from the Archdiocese to start the process for their amnesty applications. And knowing that without that assistance, my parents would have probably not known how to navigate that. And maybe my life would be different right now than it is where it is. Because at the end of the day, I was afforded a lot of opportunities that others may not have access to, because of just this assistance that my parents received. So being a person in my community that can assist my community in accessing what's out there for them, and even just removing that language barrier or that technology barrier, whatever the barrier it is that's impeding the individual from accessing whatever it is that they need, is really powerful. Because at the end of the day, it's like, well, someone gave back to me once and opened a door. Well, I'm doing the same thing and ensuring that that door doesn't close, or even just breaking that ceiling. And I always really like the quote of "be the change that you want to see in the world."
Absolutely.
So being that change right now and kind of helping those younger generations understand like what their role is, because it's not just how I mentioned, it's not just what we're doing right now, it's who else are we helping in the future.
Absolutely. And I think one thing we need to understand, some people may look at the community of Blue Island and say, oh, they flourish and they have a lot of things going on. But we need to realize that, underserved communities can look very different. And that still means that there are a lack of resources. And so, food insecurity is something that we deal with in the Southland as a whole. And so the great thing about the BIRNN is that we do have partners that we work with stuff like that, social emotional wellness, mental health, self-care is something that, it's not always high level in our communities. People don't look at that as something that needs to be a priority. But I'm glad that we have the opportunity to let people know that there are resources out there, and then we can connect them to those resources. So,
and even helping the community trust those resources.
Absolutely.
Because I think that's really important, where just because the resource is there doesn't mean that the community is going to use
this
it.
is true.
Because they can be like, well, no, Cook County is going to come to my house and look at mold. Well, what if they tell me that I can't live here anymore? Where am I going to go? So then that leaves me homeless. But if we have those conversations where they're going to come to your house and they're going to look at what exposure you might have and provide you with the tools and resources so you can actually live in a healthy home.
Absolutely.
So kind of helping the community trust what's out there is kind of a really big role that we play too. Because it's not just telling them, oh, here's this resource. Well, no, I've worked with this person, or I've gone to school here and I've known that this is how you need to do this or you need to do that. Even just with education, if we kind of go deeper into that, and not a lot of folks in this area probably had the privilege or not even the privilege, that's a really bad word, the opportunity to go get a higher education degree because maybe they didn't know how to navigate it. Like, for example, I'm a first-gen student, right? I'm first-gen everything. My sister graduated from college in, I believe, like 2003. I went to college in 2016, and I remember asking her for help, and she's just like, I don't know what to tell you. It's completely different than when I went to school. And even for her, she actually was going to go to the Army and had done all of the recruitment process, and her recruiter was like, you need to go to school.
Wow.
So the recruiter helped her. So she's just like, I don't know. So I found myself navigating a space that I never knew how to navigate.
Right.
And it was all through trial and error. I don't regret it, but if we could assist the community in removing that trial and error and being like, hey, you know what? You need to go do your high school diploma and then go to Moraine Valley, which is one of the community colleges in the area. Do your associates, and then from your associates, you can decide if you want to transfer out to a 4-year university.
That's right.
And not go into debt, because at the end of the day, you really don't need to go to school to, you just need the tools to know how to navigate all of those things.
That's true.
So it's having those opportunities and being afforded the chance to actually grow is something that I really want to strive to do with the community and help them trust what's out there and trust that they're making the right decision. Because that's one thing, like, I feel like we get too scared sometimes to do something different. But if you have that voice that's telling you, like, what are you scared about? Here's this resource, here's this partner that can help guide you. Or, for example, like food insecurity in the area. Well, let's go to the food pantry together.
Right.
Let's not be scared to ask for these services, because there's no shame in those things. And I feel like that's something that really affects the community, is just that shame of needing help when it's completely normal to need it.
Right. I think we are here to try to help break all of those barriers. So Carlita, introduce yourself. Talk a little bit about what you do here with the BIRNN.
Hello, my name is Carlita Danzy. I'm the office assistant here at the BIRNN, and I actually run the office, make sure everything's up and running here. I also assist with Sarah, also Ken, in regards to things that they may need. I just have to make sure everything is up and running and open, and make sure the office is open, here. And also me, back growing up, my gift, I call it a gift, was outreach. I like to do outreach, and I do that with my church. And what drew me to Metropolitan Family Services, as well as the BIRNN, Blue Island-Robbins Neighborhood Network, was the outreach and to reach out to the people. And it was a good thing that I got a chance to go to the Robbins outdoor.
Yeah, you've been to some events that we've been doing in the community.
Events that we've done in the community.
Yep.
I was able to get out and just meet people. I wanted the people to see me so that they would know me in the community, and just to have that outreach. And my motto is always to reach one, teach one.
No, I think that's
try
great.
to reach them. And just with the food insecurities and the job deserts and things of that nature, just to be here to assist with if someone comes in the office and may want to know of those resources, we're able to assist them with the pamphlets we may have, or all other type of resources, just to assist them and help them in the best way that we can.
No, that's great.
That's what I
was going to say. I think it's important that people need to know that you have to know a little bit about what we all do, because that's how you assist us, and you need to be able to have that connection with the community as well. So knowing that you have, just like Sarah, that outreach background, even though you keep us moving forward in the office, to be able to have that spirit of outreach and not being afraid to go out and help people, that just really helps enhance our team. So very grateful to have you in that role.
And it builds that overall trust, if you think about it too, because I can say that even we had a situation where someone had called and there was a language barrier, and Carlita did absolutely amazing to get the information that we needed in order to reach out to that individual. And I think that plays a pivotal role, because then that individual knows, well, if I need help, they're going to go above and beyond to ensure that I have that help. And it helps with that trust. And that's the most important thing, is having the community's trust that we want what's best. Not necessarily for them, but what's best for their overall growth of everyone.
October, I think we'll be going into our 9th year of existence. There are not many organizations that last that long, but I think in community, what you said, trust, we spent many years of building trust with the community, letting people know that, this is a place where that you can come and find those resources. I think the one thing that I think all of us know, even in our individual lives, is that we sometimes assume that people know that things are there. And, we move about thinking, well, they know that there's a food pantry there. Or they know that, CETA can help them with their lights. But we're surprised as we go out, we find out people really don't know that those resources are there. And so we have the ability, from our office assistants to the program manager to our community engagement person to our program coordinator, to be able to let people know, we want to help you find those resources. We want to connect you to those resources. So I talked a little bit about the subcommittees that we operate in. So I know, Sarah, you were a bit new with us, but you've had an opportunity to engage with everybody, and you've been very engaging. So talk a little bit about those subcommittees, and just from the perspective of where you sit right now, how we can have those subcommittees can help community people really get attached to the things that they need, the resources that they need, the help that they need. So talk a little bit about that.
So I know for our social emotional wellness committee really focuses on diving into all things SEL, all things wellness. That's my niche. So in my previous life, I used to be a community school coordinator, and I really focused on having my programming for the kids that I worked with that really embodied just social emotional learning. Because at the end of the day, we have all of these academics, but we kind of need to mesh both together to create that balance. So what I really enjoy about the social emotional wellness committee is just the overall pragmatic goal is to bring wellness, not necessarily just with kids, but also with parents. We had a meeting a couple of weeks ago where we were talking about what our plans were for the future. And it was really embedding these SEL programs either through workshops or events through our partners, say, for example, the library, the Blue Island Public Library, the William Robinson Library and Robbins, or even just some of our partners like the Kenna Foundation, Solid Ground, working with them to develop programs that will bring both parents and kids together. So it's not just, oh, let's do a social emotional learning program for kids where they have these after school initiatives where they can do, let's say, gardening, or they can do meditation, or they can do any type of movement. But let's bring their parents too, so we can show their parents that this is something that they need to model. Because if your kids are seeing that, hey, you know what? I take an hour out of my day to listen to music or to just sit outside in the sun. Like, for example, I love going outside between 7 a.m. and between 7 and 9 a.m. and just sitting out there for 20 minutes and just letting the sun hit me. It revitalizes, it gives me the energy for the day. And I can see oh, well, my nephews see that I'm doing that, so one of them does it too. So if we can model those things, our kids are going to see hey, you know what? I need to do that too. My mom goes outside and it helps her. And if she yells at me because I'm not cleaning my room, it helps her not yell at me. Maybe let me do that. Or even just our financial health,
an education
committee, having programs that are going to really help our community grow, either it be through a partnership with our legal aid services and we're having an expungement clinic, or we're having any parental rights clinics, anything that we see that the community is needing, having these partnerships kind of actively engage with them and say, hey, we're here to support you in this struggle that you're experiencing right now. And we're going to help you through that finish line and kind of remove that struggle or even just talking about like wage theft. That's one of the biggest things that Metro
Yes.
does through their legal aid society, is helping folks that are experiencing issues with their employers and helping them navigate that. And wage theft is something that really occurs within our communities because we have a lot of folks that are undocumented.
That's right.
So they're either easily exploited by their employer,
That's
and they're
right.
too
That's right.
scared of, well, if I speak out and I tell them like, hey, you know what, I'm missing 6 hours in my paycheck. Like, where are these 6 hours? Well, we can be there and support them and say, hey, you know what, we have these lawyers that are going to provide you the service for free, and we'll communicate with your employer for you.
Right.
Kind of having those advocacy through these initiatives and through these committees, like, really help the community
Yeah,
grow.
that's right. That's right.
Even or just our healthy living and
Healthy
healthy
eating and
eating
active
and
living.
active living.
That's right.
I'm
That's
really
right.
bad at these abbreviations, which is horrible. But even just with the committee, really working on our community engaging in the fact that our area is a food desert.
That's true.
We don't have a big grocery store anywhere around here. We used to have a Jewel, and it closed
Yeah,
when I
remember
was in
that.
elementary
Yeah, I
school.
remember. Yeah.
And it was a really hard hit. They opened an Ultra down the street, but that wasn't in Blue Island. But once that hit, that close too, our community got an even bigger hit,
Right.
because now we have all of these mom and pop shops. And don't get me wrong, I'm a firm believer of supporting our mom and pop
That's right.
shops.
That's right.
But
Support your local mom
sometimes
and pop.
if we're making $20,000 a year,
It's
it's not enough to go
Right.
to a mom and pop shop and
Right.
buy $40 worth of meat. So
Right.
that means that, guess what? Maybe I don't have to cook with meat anymore. But by having these committees and having all of these areas that we kind of try to bridge and create that trust, we really work on growing and saying, hey, you know what, but maybe you can't afford meat, but if we go to Blue Cap has a food pantry every Tuesday, or if we go to the Salvation Army, or even if we go to Good Shepherd, we have all of these food pantries that are around us, and connecting the individuals to those resources, or even helping them connect to a bus.
Right.
Here are these lines that can take you. One of the things that really that I take into heart is the determination of our community. I walked past the food pantry. I drove past the food pantry a couple of weeks ago, and there was folks waiting at 6:00 in the morning, and the food pantry didn't open until 9:30.
Right.
So it's, well, there's this need, and we have all of these resources out there. It hurt my soul to see them out there
Right. I know what you
so
mean.
early, but I was like, I'm glad that we have this resource here,
Absolutely.
because
Absolutely.
what would happen if we didn't?
And I think the goal of each committee ties into the other. You know, if you are not doing well mentally, it may be because you are, dealing with not having enough food or not being employed. And so, I think the goal of the BIRNN and all of our partnership is to teach people to advocate for themselves. And so that's the one thing that I really push into community and to our listeners this evening, is that there are ways that you can advocate. There are resources in your community that all you have to do is reach out. No matter where you're listening from, there is someone that can give you help, but you got to take that first step into reaching out for that help. So Carlita, I loved what you said about outreach. And so now that you've had a bit of time to deal with some of our partners and go out into some of our events, how do you feel about, being out in community? What do you think about the closeness of our community, or if our community seems to be far apart? What is your ideas about the community that you've worked with thus far?
I think that they're pretty close from what I've seen.
Okay.
As far as doing the outreach, I see a lot of families, the moms with their children, and then sometimes you see the dads along with them as well. And they're out and they're hungry. They're looking for different resources. And that's where we come in to let them know that, hey, it's okay. You can stop by, pick up this, pick up that, or they can also navigate the online if they know how to get online. You can find resources that way by searching on Google. It's a different thing. So again, they have to take that first step to do that. But again, I do see a lot of communities, Blue Island and Robbins, I've seen families come out, just out moving around. And that's where we come in to go out and advocate for them, and sometimes to even speak for them. But again, they have to take that first step. But we do need to step up and reach out and maybe speak out more for them on their behalf,
Right.
and let them know that we are here for them.
Okay.
But I do see a lot of outreach as far as families coming together. I do see that.
No, that's
clearly.
a great perspective. I think the one thing that I appreciated about you, and I had the privilege of bringing Carlita into our team, is that during our time of talking, you were like, these are some things that I've experienced as well. So, I've been in this place, I've had to deal with these issues. And I think that's what really builds trust.
Yep.
Is when people realize, like,
Normalizing it.
I've been there, I've been in a place where I've had to stand at the gas pump and make, some life decisions on how much gas do I put in my tank, or whether I buy, a loaf of bread for those of us who are, blessed enough to be able to have a vehicle to drive. And so, I really want people to understand the work that we do, and the reason why we're even doing this show is because we want to get that information out there and to let people know that there is help. And Carlita, you hit it on the head. In order to teach you how to advocate, sometimes we have to advocate for you ourselves, and we have to show you, we have to show by example. So before we go any further into this evening's show, Sarah, give us if people are listening, they want to know how to connect with the BIRNN, the Blue Island-Robbins Neighborhood Network, how can they reach us?
So there's a couple of ways. So you can either reach us here in person, and apologies that I have to grab my phone because for some reason I keep forgetting the address.
It's 13315 Old Western Avenue. So that's true. So we're right here in Blue Island on Old Western Avenue. So that's one way you can definitely come into the office and meet Carlita, who will be the first person that you see as you walk through that door.
You can reach out to us over the phone. Our phone number is 708-974-5821.
Okay.
You can also find us on social media. So we're on Facebook, Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter.
Right.
We're on, did I mention Instagram? We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. Right. There's a couple of ways that you can reach out to us there as well. And then try and true is you can also reach out to us via email. So our email is the Blue Island-Robbins Neighborhood @gmail.com. And if you need any intake services, just give us a call. You can reach us again at 708-974-5821.
Right.
And then we speak Spanish too. So we are very bilingual.
Very bilingual.
So please feel free to reach out if you need any assistance in Spanish. We can assist you that way. If there's any assistance needed in another language, thankfully our partner parent, Metropolitan Family Services, has some services that we can use to provide either translation in other various languages. So it's not necessarily just for Spanish. But those are a couple of ways of reaching out to us. Again, Carlita's here, making sure that this office is open, that we have some movement here. So if you ever need assistance in person, you can either find her or myself here, and Ken as well. So the idea is that we're all here to support you. We want the best for you. We want to provide you with the agency that you need to continue to grow, and also just support you and reminding you to trust yourself.
That's right. And our office hours are 9 to 5.
Oh, yeah.
But we are always available to reach. And I have to say this for Carlita, and she won't brag on herself, but I will say prior to the last few months, I didn't know what TikTok was. And so Carlita takes, and she runs all of our social media pages. Yep. And she's in charge of getting out our newsletter. But TikTok now, if I don't look at anything else now, I go to TikTok because I know if there's any event, if there's anything that's going on, Carlita has captured it. She's putting music to it and it flows and it's wonderful. So yes, I love TikTok now. I didn't have a TikTok account until a couple of months ago, but I really appreciate what Carlita and Sarah and our team we do as far as getting out that information. So again, just go to our social media pages and just look and see there are resources there. Carlita on our website, explorebir.org.
Yes, I forgot to mention. And then we also are started to redevelop the website in the way where our jobs section that's posted there are jobs that are specific to the area. So you'll have jobs for Blue Island and you'll have jobs for Robbins. There's some sprinkles of some metropolitan jobs for our Marionette Park office.
Right.
But you'll start to see that, like, for example, the school districts are hiring. There's a lot of manufacturing jobs in the area. So we really want this to be a resource for the community.
Right.
So if you're looking for a job, please feel free to head that way. Our local libraries have amazing resume workshops, so head over that way as well.
Absolutely.
And if you have a question and you can't find when those resume workshops are going to be, feel free to reach out to us.
Absolutely.
And we can kind of help pivot you to that calendar for the respective libraries.
Yes. And so if you are listening and you are a business and you do have jobs that you want us to post, Carly, can you give everybody your email address if you remember?
Yes, it's Danzy C. It's a capital D, capital C at metrofamily.org. Again,
All right, say that again.
Capital D, ANZY, capital C at metrofamily.org.
All right, because we want you to send those jobs her way,
Mhm.
especially if you are in the Southland, if you are in our communities, because the one thing I think we all know that transportation
Is
can
an issue.
sometimes be an issue
Yep.
in our communities. They don't run all night long and they're in various areas. One thing is that I will say is that Pace has been at the table with us recently and we've been having some conversations and they've been listening. We do have some partners that provide transportation,
Yep.
but
Awesome.
to be able to go to our website and find something locally that you can go to is wonderful. We don't want you to go outside of the community to work. Keep that finance in the community. Keep
Yes.
those resources in the community.
Indeed.
So Sarah, just tell me a little bit more about being a lifelong resident. I love to hear that, like you are working in the place that you grew up. Tell us about some of the other organizations that may be a part of the BIRNN that operate right here in Blue Island or in Robbins.
So we have, I know I talked a little bit about some of our partners when I was talking about our SEL, our Social Emotional Wellness Committee. But we have a couple of amazing partners that are doing a lot of behavioral services for our kids. And I think that's extremely important. As a lifelong resident,
Absolutely.
I went to District 130. I did pre-K up until 8th grade at the district. And I know for a fact that we never had any after school programming. We never really had the opportunity. We kind of did. We would have after school programming when it was kind of Cinco de Mayo.
Okay.
And they had a Cinco de Mayo showcase at District 130, and they would prep us for our presentations. So we would either do dances. I was part of the bilingual classes.
Okay.
So we would do dances and we would perform for our parents. And that was kind of like the only after school programming that we had. So our amazing partner, Solid Ground and the Kind of Foundation, Oasis, Empowerment Zone. They provide a lot of programming for the kids. The Hope Center has amazing programming for kids. They have an not an aquaponics garden. I always get the names wrong.
Quadroponics, right? Is that what it's called?
I always get it wrong.
You know what? We're gonna let you guys know our next time we come on, but it's definitely
it's an
program.
urban garden
Right.
initiative that we have that they have at the Hope Center.
Hydroponics.
There we go. I was like,
it's
like something.
Right.
I'm like something ponics.
Right.
But they have those amazing programs for the kids. Our community garden in Robbins.
Absolutely.
All of these initiatives that kind of really help and either the food insecurity that the community experiences or just like those after school programmings. Like, for example, I was in awe when I went to go explore the Hope Center and I saw the room full of 3D printers for kids. And they were like, oh, they wanted to make a cell phone case. I was like, oh, look at them. Little mini entrepreneurs. Because you can end up selling.
Sell them. Yes,
you can sell them.
Yes.
So like things like that our partners are doing that I didn't get to experience as a kid, but it gives me so much warmth in my heart to know that this next generation is experiencing those things and has access to those things.
Right.
Because I was low income. My parents didn't have the money to sign me up for an after school program.
Right.
I was one of 4 kids. Like I would dream of those things.
I know what you
mean.
And
now that they're here and they're either low cost or they're free, it kind of warms my heart to know like, well, yeah, the kids are going to experience this, but then their parents are also going to see it.
Right.
And then their parents are going to get to live vicariously through their kids.
Yeah.
Like it's really heartwarming. So Solid Ground does amazing behavioral therapies for the kids. They have partnerships with the school district. We have the Kenna Foundation, and they're currently working on possibly doing after school programming for kids. So that's kind of really empowering to know that all of these partners that work with us
Absolutely.
are doing these things for the community.
Absolutely.
Even though it's like you mentioned, we don't provide that direct service, I still feel that that's a direct
Coming
service for me.
directly to us,
Yeah,
I know what you
because
mean.
it's like,
Yeah.
well, if we didn't know that this was there, we can't advocate for them,
Right.
And saying like helping the community trust. So even just seeing like how much they've grown and the way that will, for example, with the Hope Center, all of the funding that they not necessarily receive, but like how they're able to grow their garden,
Right.
how they're able to have all of these partnerships. Like, for example, a couple of weeks ago, they started kind of breaking ground where they're going to start planting their seeds for their harvest.
Wonderful.
And
Wonderful.
knowing that harvest, whenever it comes out, is going to go directly into the hands of the community. Having their little truck, they have like a little
they teach auto mechanics, so
yes,
they
they
teach you how to
do.
fix your own brakes and all
Yep,
things
they
like
had
that.
some programs for specifically for women. The
Right.
idea is that they were gonna help these mujeres, help these women advocate for themselves and create this little small business for themselves.
Which I think is
That's
wonderful.
something that they can do at home. Like, for a fact, I spent $80 to change my oil. When it's something that I could possibly do myself.
Absolutely.
But nobody ever taught me how to do that. So
Right,
knowing that
right.
there's this resource out here, and it's a whole garage.
Right.
So they'll teach you how to change your oil, they'll teach you how to change your brakes. In the summer, they had an initiative for the kids. So they were teaching kids all of these resources.
Wonderful.
Like for that community garden that they were doing outside, they brought in a church, and then the church helped them like break down the ground. And it's like
Wonderful.
having these resources out there and knowing that it's going to go back to the community and helping them know that like, hey, this is out there, you can use it. I promise you that there's no
Right,
loophole.
right,
And that's
right.
a thing that I've noticed a lot, that we'll say like, hey, there's this resource, and they'll be like, what's the catch?
That's it. And you know what? I think that is the one thing that we are all charged with, saying there is no catch. You know? But Carlita, I want to go back to something that you said that just really stuck with me, because I want our listeners to understand something that you said that I don't think people talk about a lot, is that you saw families out there. So what does that mean to you when you say, I can go out into community and I see families coming out together and going out to events together and just being outside together? What does that mean to you, just individually as a person? What does that mean to you?
It means a lot to see that, because families are divided.
Yes.
In this world today, you don't see families. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It's in every race, origin, what have you. And it's just good to see families come together. And I mean, you see from the oldest to the smallest. I've seen out there. And the key is for us to gain that trust with them, and also to let them know that we too have experienced these things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I too was low income and things of that nature, and stand in the food lines as well. And sometimes it's good, like Sarah said, to go out and advocate for them and stand out there with them.
That's
and
true.
let them know that it's going to be okay. This
Very
is what
true.
you're doing today, and the future it may get better for you due to the resources and stuff. But again, it's good to just see. It warms my heart as well to see families come together. It's just awesome, and they look so excited. They're all happy. They're smiling. They like what we're saying, and like you stated about the is there a catch? No, there's no catch.
Right.
We break
Just wanna
everything
help.
down to them,
Right.
and we just want to help. No, we too experience these things. No, this is real.
That's just real.
All of this is real.
Yeah.
But again, it's just so good to see from the infants all the way to the adult, even to the elderly.
Yeah.
Just normalizing it.
Them. Yes,
absolutely.
They
I think
are
I tell people when I graduated college, I had opportunities, but it was great because I too grew up in a underserved community, and I knew what it was. You know, I was like one of the most fortunate families in our community to have both parents in the home. And so, but I understood what it was to struggle, have friends who couldn't buy shoes or didn't have money for uniforms or things like that. And so to be able to say, I have these choices, but because I know that feeling, I'm able to come back and give back in
Yep.
community to people. And I think that's what most people who work in this
Yes.
lane in social services, pretty much they've experienced that. And that's what drives them to
Yep.
do that work. But I also want to just touch upon it, and either one of you can answer. Oh, go ahead, Carly. If you wanted to jump in, cut
No,
me
it's
off.
okay. I just wanted to say that once they gain our trust, then they're more like comfortable.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
They kind of loosen up.
Absolutely.
they're more
And then
open.
They're more open, and just to
Absolutely.
see them out there, and then when they see you, they smile, they hug you. Oh my God, these children, they run up to me.
Yes.
And Robbins, and they're just like, hey,
Yeah,
and it's just
yeah.
like I have a rapport. I've built something with this family, these
Absolutely,
families, and it's just a
absolutely.
And even if
wonderful
you're
feeling.
out there just advocating with them, they'll
Yes.
see that you're like on their team,
Yeah.
and they'll help you connect with
Help.
more people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Being present is the most important thing. Letting
Thank
people
you.
see that you're willing to step out of places where you may be comfortable
Yeah.
and to come out and still be there in community. So I want
Awesome.
either one of you to be able to answer this. So for our listeners, if people want to get involved, if they want to volunteer, if they want to donate to the BIRNN, and anything that we get, we definitely get out to partners. But how can they do that? If I wanted to volunteer for something that the BIRNN had coming up, how do I reach out? How do I get that process started?
So feel free to reach out at 708.
Thank you.
Bear with me. I should just take a screenshot of
Yep,
this.
974-5821. That's it.
There we go.
That's it.
I promise you, I'm going to memorize it.
Nope. And for everybody that's listening, Sarah is probably the newest person to our team, but since she just has this at heart, it seems like she's been doing this
For
forever.
forever. I know.
Yes. But Sarah, give everybody who is listening your telephone number here in the office and your email address as well. So if they want to reach out to you directly, they can reach out to you. She is our coordinator. She works with our partners. She makes sure that there's that connection between the partners. And I know we've talked about a few partners, but that's the point of the BIRNN Chronicles. From week to week, every Tuesday at 7 o'clock, you're going to hear a different partner who is working in our communities to come and talk about what they're doing. So Sarah, give them your email and your telephone number as well.
So my email's a little long.
That's
so
okay.
I apologize.
We got time. That's okay.
But so it's capital O.
We want everybody to stop and get a pen now, so she can give you this email.
I'm gonna break it down.
Break it down.
So it's capital O. So O as in octopus.
Okay.
C as in, oh my God,
cat. Okay.
E as in elephant. G as in giraffe. U as in umbrella. E as in elephant.
Okay.
R as in Robert.
All
and
right.
A as in apple. S as in Sarah.
As in Sarah.
At metrofamily.org. And again, so it's O as in octopus, C as in cat, E as in elephant, G as in giraffe, U as in umbrella, E as in elephant, R as in Robert, A as in apple, S as in Sarah, at metrofamily.org. And then my phone number. So my work number for the office is 708-974-5829. And then my cell phone number for the office is 773-343-2840. So I'm going to translate this and I'm going to say it in Spanish.
Go right ahead.
So mi número de teléfono de la oficina es 708-974-5829. Y el número de mi celular de la oficina es 773-343-2840. Si necesitan comunicarse conmigo, también pueden comunicarse conmigo por correo. So mi correo es oseguera@metrofamily.org. So es O de Octavio, C de casa, E de Eduardo, G de Gerardo, U de... What starts with a U?
Umbrella.
No.
Not
U de
umbrella.
uva, E de Eduardo, R de Roberto, A de Alejandra, @ M de Marisol, E de Eduardo, T de Tatiana, R de Roberto, O de Oseguera, F de familia, A de Alejandra, M de Marisol, Y, no se crean, Y latina de de individual. L de Lorenzo, Y de Yoyo, punto O de Oseguera, R de Roberto y G de Gerardo.
Wonderful. And I think the one thing having Sarah on our team is that she is pushing us all to go back into those places. And when we were in school, that we took Spanish, and so that we won't always have to go to Google Translate because it may not always translate the way that we needed to translate. And so it's wonderful to have a bilingual person on our staff and to be in leadership here on our staff, because again, it's building that trust with the community. And, we have an organization that works primarily with seniors, and we have organizations that work with those who are undocumented. And so it's so great to have those organizations and to have that outreach so that we are not missing a part of the community. There's no part of the community that feels left out. And so it's so important that we try to give resources to everyone in the community in which we can. So Metropolitan is our parent company. They are the person that leads us and guides us. We do have a 9-member steering committee of professionals who guide our work. They give us guidance. They bring in potential funders. They move with us. They're out in community with us. And then the most important thing, even though we have 40 partners, even though we have staff, the most important thing is you, the person that's listening today. Know that you may be going through something. You may feel like there's a barrier. There may be a resource that you feel like you are lacking. You have our information. Reach out, contact us. And the one thing I can tell you about our team is that if we don't have the answer right then and there, we will work until we get that answer. You will find some help, because it just means that much to us. In this work, your word is the only thing that you have, and you want to make sure that you continue to just keep your word. So we have a few moments left, but Carlita, I just wanted to, give you another opportunity just to talk about just the work in general. I heard you say that you volunteer at church, and the one thing that we've been trying to do is just really to get some of the churches involved in our work and let some of the pastors know that what a wonderful way as a pastor to have this resource. So if there's someone in the congregation that's in need, that you can call Sarah, you can call Carlita, you can call Ken, and we can connect you with that resource that you can give to someone in the congregation. So, I heard you talking about volunteering. Since I know you outside of this show, I know that it's really meaningful to you what you do at the church, but just talk about your feeling, your love for community, the one in which you grew up, which may not be these two communities. But the one thing I know we all know, it really doesn't matter where you grew up in the city of Chicago or the Southland, we all have the same issues. So, and struggles, and are in need of those resources. So talk about that, Carlita. Just give us a little bit more of an insight. We getting in your business right now. Give us a little bit more insight about, how you feel about being out and just community is general, and what you would like to see. If you had your ideal community, what would it look like to you?
I love outreach. I've been doing that since I was younger as well.
Wonderful.
In churches, different churches growing up with my mom. And then as I got older on my own, I just decided to volunteer and do some things. I've done a number of things. Outreach with Greater Food Depository. I do a lot of walks, like the walk, walk, the runs, things of that nature. Also Walk for Water, which was through World Vision. And I sponsored 3 children that were in Africa, and I had them from their youth until they became adults. And once they become adults, they leave the program. Right. I build a rapport with them. So I would talk to them back and forth through emails or through the USPS. They would send out their 6 months report on how they're doing, their when it's raining season or whatever type of season that it is. It tells you about their health, if it's satisfactory, their grade levels, things of that nature. So I go outreach. I do the outreach above and beyond that's in the city of Chicago or outside in other countries. So I did that, and I just have a passion for helping people.
Wonderful.
So this is why it connected me here, because again, I'm helping people. So I just like to do the outreach, and then like on the weekends, the last weekend we did a sunrise prayer, and I volunteered for that. I had to be there at 1:00 in the morning.
All right, now that's dedication.
And this Saturday I was there. And it was a sunrise service from 4 p.m. until like 7-ish. And we just cheer the people on coming in, tell them you made it. You got this. I'm glad to see your face. You got up, you made it here. That means you're seeking for something.
That's right.
So again, that's an outreach as well.
That's absolutely an outreach,
And also in my community, there are churches there. I reached out to actually the park district there. It's called Mandrake Park. I did something there with them. Another walk. Another walk. So I did a lot of walking. and things of that nature. But it's just reaching out and walking in the neighborhood. Hello, good morning. How are you? That's just the type of person I am, upbeat, personable, and outgoing. And I just like to reach. That's why I always say reach one, is to teach one.
That's right.
You try to teach them.
And I think that's so important, because when you think about our staff, we're not just doing this for a check. I mean, this is something that we're doing because it's just, it's inside of us, and it's something that it's not work, because you know, they say if you love what you do, then it's not really work, but we really want to see lives transform. So Sarah, in our last few moments that we have, I just want you, you know, again, I kind of keep going back to being this lifelong resident and being able to work in community and where you wake up and go to sleep every night. So just talk about, and I would love you to answer this question. If you had an opportunity to build your ideal community, what would it look like?
So I used to be a part of the student org called Micha when I was in college, and one of their mottos is La Unión hace la fuerza.
Okay.
So there's essentially force and unity, but that's like the literally accurate translation, but I like it better as there's power in numbers, or there's power in unity. So my perfect community would look like a community that works together, that doesn't work necessarily in silos, where the overall goal is the empowerment and growth of the community. So I really would like to see a community that comes together, not just to support in an event or to say like, oh, we reached 200 people and we provided the service. Like, I really wanted to come together, and as a community, we saw that there was this individual that had a need and we fulfilled it. Or even just initiatives where let's build a love fridge where we can all stock this fridge with perishable items that we know that maybe somebody might need. Or for example, like, hey, I have all of these box of Lunchables and I see that they're going to expire. Let me bring them out here. Or kind of like mimic those, like those little libraries. Oh my God, what are they called? I
was just gonna add that. They have the little books.
They have like little receptacles where you can come and take the book and then bring the book back. I've seen those in certain places.
I really envision this like community where we're all working together. We're all removing those biases, and there's no phobias, like, and I know that's like a utopia. But I feel like it is attainable. Once we all start working together and see that we all have this collective focus, or this collective struggle, or this collective, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a specific word, and it's like my bilingual brain does this to me all the time.
That's all right. That's okay.
But we have this collective effort, or this collective impact that we're trying to make.
Absolutely.
And just do the work and not work in a silo.
I think that's great. I think the one thing that we've known and that we try to connect with community is that food insecurity doesn't have a color. You know, needing your light bills, it doesn't need a color. You know, having to be able to pay your rent, that does not have a bias. That does not need a color. That is, you know, all colors, all communities, we suffer through those things. And so the great thing, and I have the privilege to lead this team and these wonderful individuals, but to know that you guys have the passion to go out into community. Like Carlita is our office assistant, but she's been out in the community, you know, in the heat or in the cold, making sure that, you know, nothing is missed and that people understand and they see all of us and they know all of our passion. I think that's the most ideal thing that we can do as a network. And so again, you know, we have a few moments left, and I wanted to thank our team for coming out and sharing. And again, you have their information. If nothing else, go to www.explorebir.org. That's our website. You'll find our partners there, those jobs, local jobs there. There are events that we have coming up there. Our steering committee is there. You'll find a lot of information. Our Facebook page, our Instagram page, our TikTok page, which I'm in love with now, are ways that you can connect with us. And so in these last minutes, I want to give both of you just a chance to say anything that you would like to say to our listeners. Don't forget that we are We'll be back next Tuesday, each Tuesday at 7 p.m. But we got a minute left, so give you just 30 seconds to say anything you want to say to our listeners this evening.
I'm going to say in Spanish. So les quiero dar las gracias por habernos escuchado. Si no entendieron lo que dijimos, próximamente vamos a tener uno en español. So I basically said, I want to say thank you so much for listening to us. And if you didn't understand what we were talking about, I promise you that we'll eventually have one in Spanish.
All right. This is true. So true. Carlita, what you got?
I would just like to see the communities just to be unified. That's the key, just to get everyone to be unified. And also if they could come up with something like a, you know how you rent a tool or rent something like in a neighborhood, they can go and rent those tools that they don't have, and just for a small fee. You know, have like a garage sale and have people donate those things, and then you have them set up, and then they can come and rent the tool for a few dollars, and then when they're done, bring it back. I would just like to see a lot of more just
collective
unity.
efforts.
And I think that is what the BIRNN is built on. We're built on the 5 principles of collective impact. And so thank you so much. Do not forget that we are here every Tuesday evening, 7:00 p.m. And bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to the BIRNN Community Chronicles. Catch us next Tuesday and every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central.